Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I just started this intro and said the complete wrong car. So, welcome back to the restoration of Eve, the little Mini Mayfair. So we left you last time with the inner wings all sorted and we're verified. I kind of ran through some good pointers to get your front end lined up. A lot of that kind of is a little bit irrelevant on cars because not one ever fits the same. So we're going to get into the issues this one has straight away. But yeah, in this episode, we kind of aim to get the front end on, or as close as we possibly can. Maybe at least in this episode, if we can get it drilled, tech screwed, clamped in place, so like, right, golden, we can weld in the next episode. That might be the case, but we just got to see. As you can see, got tools out already and I've been tinkering around, so I wanted to bring you guys in and kind of see the first issue that we've got. Simpsons Classics mugs are on their way, so obviously stay tuned for them, and we're going to just get stuck into it. So quite a bit of time lapse in, which you'll all be happy with, and basically I'm going to get this front end as close as I possibly can and run you through the issues you're going to encounter through doing this, and the issues this car has, because by no means is this a straight car. I think I'm going to tackle it very, very similar to the 89, so I won't go into mad amount of detail, but at the same time we kind of need to know where we go wrong and what we need to do to rectify that. So starting straight at this side, everything's just roughly clamped in place. Got the A panel. So first point of call I always go is chamfer off the edges. These obviously come straight, top and bottom. Number one, it makes it easier to fold around this panel when you come to that, but also you'll find that there's just too much panel on here to be able to even get it lined up. So you can vaguely see where the original factory tack was, because on this side it had the original A panel, and I think in fact both sides did. So you can vaguely see where that, and you can see where this panel used to go. Basically the top of this panel follows this swage line that continues off down the car, so you can kind of see the dirt mark there. So we've got the swage line on the door, all this lines up. So this one I've been playing around a little bit off the camera, and you can see that it fits in, push it in there, and it lines back up basically with where the original one went, and it then tacks onto the doorstep, and then obviously this actually gets folded around the panel, but that's at a later date. Right now we just need to try and get the fitting. So I think I'm going to tackle this one a lot like I tackled the 89. If you remember that one, I got the A panels on with the front end somewhere close, tacked the A panels, then came back to the A panels once I had the front end exactly where I want it. So I think we're going to go with that. Obviously, door shut line, try and get it to as close as you want. There you go. Because you're going to fold it anyway, so bear in mind if that gap, you're like, oh, I'm never going to open or close that door, don't worry, because you're going to make that gap bigger by folding the panel round. So that is kind of the aim with the A panels. There's a few tips there for you guys. This one, you can clearly see we've got a problem, if you can just kind of see there. Let me just make sure that you guys can actually see that. So you'll see straight away, this panel is kind of, that's where it wants to be with the door line. The height of the A panel and the door is kind of where we want to be. But you can already see there's a gap there. You know, I can nearly get my little finger in there. So it's quite a big gap. We can play around with this, but mainly the wing needs to come back. And you can see if I pull on the wing, it does all start to pull tight. But getting the A panels exactly where I want it is the main point of this thing. So let's whip around to the other side and I'll show you the problem we've got that side. Right, so on this side, you can see that the panel is actually too far close to the door. A lot of that is because I haven't trimmed off, like I said, the little chamfer on each end, just try and round them off a bit. But also, you can see that this panel wants to sit up too high. This wing, if you look there, there's a, you know, this needs to be level. So this panel needs to come down, and you can achieve that by just getting rid of that little groove. So if I show you this one I've already shaved down a little bit, so it would have been completely square there. But you can see on the bottom, that's how it comes. It's, try and show you properly, so you can see that. So you can see it's completely square. So just get rid of a bit of that. It allows you to roll around that panel a little bit, especially this one. This one's had a whole new panel this side, and the profile is absolutely rubbish on these panels up here. So let's get that done. Let's get the A panels fitted. and then we can work out why the front isn't fitting. Right, so you can see there, just stuck a tack, basically where it would have been in the factory, and tacked onto the doorstep down there. So we've got a half decent shut line. It's not perfect, but like I say, that gets pulled in, folded round. But if you notice, we now don't have that gap, because now we can actually play around with a panel that's actually attached to the car properly. It makes your life a lot easier. This line lines up, and that wing's now pulled tight. This wing also fits quite well at the top here. I'm quite happy with that. But we now need to check to see if we still have the same issue at the front, which is what I was getting onto back in the intro, to see what we can do with this. Now, if you actually push this wing in, it does meet it now. So this wing needs to come down at the front here and in. So we're getting somewhere. Long way off yet, because if you notice, the bonnet shut lines are dreadful. And there is a big gap here, but it does, this front panel does pull up to it. Just takes a bit of tension on some grips, so we're getting there. Before we get stuck into the rest of the front end, just a quick word from our sponsors. We've got Minimine. So obviously all these front panels came from Minimine. They don't sell their panels online because of shipping and stuff like that, but if you use a discount code below and across the screen now, you can go onto their eBay shop and you can get everything else you need for your Classic Mini. So go check them guys out. Also check them across social media. They're always updating their pages, and it's all full of really good like shows, reports, or just general what they're doing in their workshop. And they share all your posts. So go check them out, guys. While you're on the description below, remember to check out Frost Restoration also. They have a great array of tools, consumables and everything. We use all the primers and bits and pieces here. So go check them out as well. Also, give it back to you guys, there's a discount code in the description for you guys for that. So make sure you go check out Frost Restoration at the same time. Good old-fashioned tech screws with their own little drill bit on the end. Absolutely perfect for doing this. So I've just stuck 3 in, and now you can see bonnet gap is in line, but also the big problem I thought of pulling this wing in, and someone has commented saying that it would be very difficult and if not impossible without doing a new inner wing. It's not. So the repair at the bottom has obviously been done very well, and the wing is now pulled in tight. So obviously it needs a bit of finessing, but it does mean that we can put some welds down in there. So plug weld all this up and pull that tight, because this is now meeting, the inner wing's now meeting this. There's absolutely no gap there, that's flush. And the bonnet comes down. So the bonnet does need a bit of work. You can put a bit of force on the hinges and close the gap up, but obviously we've not done the other side yet, so we're not going to try and make this one fit perfect yet. I've got to do what I got to do really with this car, because without new inner wings we're not going to get anything perfect, but also I think with new inner wings we could have run into more problems, because at least with this I can make things fit, whereas with new panels, if something was wrong further back, then we got a bit more of a problem. But we can make this work, I think. So yeah, that's better. Right, now you can see, I'll bring you guys over to this side. Really tight at the front, massive gap at the back. So we need to repeat the same now, get that A panel tacked on and start playing around with this front end a little bit. But we're getting there. It is better. It's definitely better than what it was. So obviously before doing any final welding, I like to try and get the bonnet latch back out and just make sure the pin goes where it should go and stuff like that. Although that being said, we don't actually have a bonnet pin because that was non-existent on the old bonnet. So sorry James, you might have to order another part. So we'll get stuck into this side. I'll get this A panel tacked on as well. And then I'll bring you guys back in and we'll see if we're anywhere closer with this. Right now, I think we can save it. Right, so time to check in. I think I've got this side pretty much how I want it. It's quite a nice gap. Lines up quite nice around there, and we just need to pull it tight, which it will with another clamp. But this side, I can't fight in it. So I've got it nice here, and then it's like the profile of this wing. I struggled with this wing, I think, on the 89. It was this side that was causing a bit of issues. Just can't seem to get it to come in enough. So a bit more force, but we're getting there. It's not, need a bit of an adjustment in the bonnet to bring it back, but I think we're gonna have to kind of go with what we can go with. We'll get it a bit better, obviously. I'm not happy with that. That top gap needs to go, because that's dreadful. So we'll keep working with it. Right, so I think we're getting somewhere. I think we're, as accident damage as this car was, I think this is as good as I think we can make this. Obviously we've repaired like the shock towers, we've done flitch repair that side, flitch replacement on that side. That's not really ruined any of the geometry of the front. I think the part and parcel of the original front was so much filler and pattern panels that they've just hammered to make it look right. The bonnet never fitted on the original, I say the original bonnet we didn't have with the car. James bought the car with a pattern bonnet on it. Which I think was done when the impact was done. So there's always been believed, I think, that the impact's been quite light. I'd go a bit further to think it's probably quite a hard shunt, because as you're putting something on, that's something else trying to go. And the quality of these panels doesn't normally give you that challenge. Normally, when you saw with the 89, they go pretty much where they should go. And they did when we initially placed them, but I always said that the bonnet gap was a bit rough. But I think we've got it as good as it's going to get. The bonnet gap's a little bit, I would say, wider than it should be. I've just looked at another Mini here and looked at some photos, and it's basically the same as that, but I wanted it as nice as the 89, and I think it does matter. And I explained this to a subscriber actually the other day, that it doesn't matter. I truly don't believe in taking measurements when doing a front end, because not one car is ever the same. I think you need to just get it as good as you can get it on the car, and then you finesse it as you're welding it together and get it, you know, how you want it. But I think if you look at an original Rover Mini and be serious with yourself, they're not that great from the factory. So I think whatever you do is just what you can. And when you think you're not doing it on a production line, you're doing it in a shed, it's a little bit different. So let's bring you guys in and show you where we're at. So on this side, I think that's quite a nice gap. It's quite uniform all the way along. The wing sits nice here, and it's all as it should. Like I say, the A panel was tacked in place, it's not fully welded. This is now brought in nice and tight. This, like I said, we could close this gap. That's nice and nice, perfect down there. That is round there, spot on. The bonnet itself does fit quite nice. Again, we've got the similar gap now to this side. It's taken a lot of work to get this one to fit nice. And I'll be honest, I'm not 110 with it, but I think with what we've got to work with here, I think it's going to have to do. I don't think it's going to shame itself at shows or anything like that. So I've owned and I've seen a lot worse. So I think it's going to be absolutely fine. Again, it fits really nice along here, and we pulled all that nice and tight there. This was a bit of the challenge to get this to sit nice, but as you can see, that now follows that contour all the way around. So we've kind of got it nice, uniform lines, and it matches all the way across the board. So what I'm going to do now is what I did do on the 89, and it definitely helped me, because all this needs to come back off. We need to drill holes, prep everything, and then we're going to fight it again to put it back together. But I'll do that off camera, or we might start the next video like that. But what I did is, why I've put primer all in these corners, which you probably thought was a bit overkill, is get a Sharpie and you mark where that corner of that wing's going to be, where this comes to there, your center point for your bonnet, and obviously the same repeated on the other side. So now this is now where I do my markings. Now when I've got it where I want it, take it off, you can prepare all these panels, and then when you're putting your clamps back together, you know that you need to follow those markings, because that's how you had it and how you wanted it to be. So stick you guys on time out quickly. We're going to get the Sharpie pen out and we'll mark this off, and I think in the next episode we'll get everything cleaned up and we'll get it welded on. So as you can see there, I've just put a line where the wing starts and a line where the bonnet starts, same in the center, same repeated on that side, and kind of where this meets here. But obviously this needs, when you're welding it, you kind of tap it all together anyway. And then what I always do is I join all this together with another piece of metal, and then seam strip covers it all, but it puts a lot of strength back in. Cool, I think we're as good as we're gonna get gap wise. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So we are pushing forward now. So the next episode, I'll get everything cleaned off. We drill all the holes to plug weld the top of the inner wings. We might look at using the spot welder there, but it does struggle with getting in over the wing. It's just not the right angle. It's good doing flat pieces, but anything at an angle it struggles with, just because of how the setup of it is. So we'll get cracking with that. Once the front end's on, we'll kind of make a bit of a game plan where we go next with the car. So I might just work down one side, do doorstep floors, work my way around, and trying to basically work my way to the back of the car. Normally I start with the floors, do the back, and then work my way forward, but with this, it's obviously James's money. He wanted to do the most expensive bit first, and that's why I kind of said, let's get the accident damage done first and get the big expensive panels on the car. But yeah, it's very weird seeing this car with seams, because it's always been fillered and welded and always looked a bit odd, but it now looks kind of quite OEM now like this. So catch you next one, guys. Remember to hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, comment away. Anything you'd like to know, anything you would do better or whatever. I love reading the comments, good or bad. It is what it is. It's nice to have a chat with you guys down there. Also, if you haven't already, join the YouTube membership. It helps give a little bit back. It helps pay for little bits and pieces in here. And obviously, you know, just giving a bit back. I'm not going to beg you, but it's great. So if you could do that, it'd be absolutely spot on. Also, stickers, everything is in the link description below. And obviously, remember to check out both of our sponsors while you're down there. Catch you next one, guys, when we get the welder back out and we get this nice.